Hello and welcome. I didn't realise I was going to be this nervous, so please forgive me. Yes, so I'm Tammy Owen. People may have known me in different guises the last couple of years. I've been a social worker, I've been a probation officer, I've been a psychotherapist. But why am I standing here today? So let's go. So over the last couple of years, I've been working with men and women who report domestic abuse. And what I've noticed over the last couple of years is around about those barriers to support. So why am I here talking to you about this? Well, I don't know if you're aware that there was a national crime statistics that happened quite recently. And I don't know if you're aware that there were over 718,000 men who reported domestic abuse. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this evening is it really a man's world? So, what I want you to think about today, is it a man's world? Take a second. Okay, so one of the things we may have noticed over the last couple of years is around about, we see lots of things around social media. I did actually think that this actually went a lot faster. Here we go. So, is it a man's world? So where do men go to seek help? I want you to think about what are the pathways for support. Are they widely available? So if you work in this industry or if you work in support, where do you go as a professional, or how do you support men? Or how do you support the people to support other men? Okay, so there's a couple of things that we all know about that gets reported in social media. There are more men than women CEOs. We know this. And some of these statistics are just to get your awareness going. You'll notice I may not talk about all the statistics, but I just wanted you to see them on screen. You may hear lots of things on social media, things like toxic masculinity. You might hear lots of things positive or negative around men and about how men view themselves. But what I really wanted to talk about really is there are some things that we can say which we know can happen. So we know that more men commit majority of domestic abuse. We also know that men commit the majority of general violence, and we also know that most prison inmates are men. We also know that one of the things that if you read a lot of books, which I've done quite recently, is that what is really going on with men, because they'll say men don't have a life, what they have instead is an act. And when a man is deeply unhappy or desperately worried or utterly lonely or confused, he'll often pretend the opposite, and so no one will know. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? So what do we really know about the men in our lives? What do we really know around about men? So how does that link in with domestic abuse and reporting? Men are isolated, we know. Men can isolate themselves. I did think this was going a lot faster. There we go. What we do know is men are competitive. It's happened again. There we go. And men are emotionally timid. So there are the three things that we would often think about if we're thinking around how are men and women may be slightly different. I wonder if you look on the screen, is anybody aware that we have something called International Men's Day? Yeah? Do we know there are 80 countries around the world that celebrate International Men's Day? And one of the reasons why is to look at healthy masculinity. Because, as I suggested earlier on, there's 718,000 men reported domestic abuse, and that equates to 40% of domestic abuse victims are men. And one of the researchers, or the current researchers are out here, and I won't go into too much detail. If you notice on the screen, the top reasons why men will often stay in abusive relationships would often be concerns for their children, or fear of never seeing their children again, embarrassment, or not wanting to have their children taken away. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? So if you look at mankind, if you look at the statistics, I would suggest they're very similar to why a woman would stay in an abusive relationship. I just wanted to highlight that men and women are not, can often come across as the same. So one of the things is celebrating men and boys for International Men's Day is trying to promote healthy masculinity and try and promote men to think about how can they help other men. So, as a final thought, is it really a man's world? What do we really know about men in our lives? Men in the audience, do you recognise any of this? Is this something that you've only heard before? And thank you very much.